Simply Tammy.
It's a blessing that I'm here, I'm alive. No, I never ever have to cry, cause it's something I know will always work for me on my side. Not a thing I even have to fight, All things work together for my good. Life speaks if you listen, it might be sound. Watch the love come alive. Sharing the truth that inspires, Sharing the truth that inspires, Sharing the truth that inspires. All things work together for my good. Life speaks if you listen, it might be sound. Watch the joy come alive, watch the joy come alive. Sharing the truth that inspires.
Inspired to love, inspired to grow, inspired to heal, inspired to live. Simply Tammy.
Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Simply Tammy Show. I'm your host, Simply Tammy, and I'm excited that you are joining me again to hear about some amazing stories from some wonderful people that are local here in Greenville, South Carolina. If you've been watching for some time, you know that we have different segments, and the segment that you're going to hear from in this episode is called And the Beat Lives On. You should know, if you've watched the other ones, that particular segment, we are meeting people who have walked through grief, either through the loss of a mother, a sibling, mother or father, either parent, a sibling, a child, or a spouse, and what their journey has been like to still celebrate love beyond grief. So I am so honored to have with us tonight. She has experienced loss at a magnitude, honestly, that many of us maybe could not even imagine, but she is a champion for those who are walking through grief. So please help me welcome to the Simply Tammy Show, Mrs. Tanika Dillard.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. Hey, friend.
How are you?
I'm well. How are you?
I am good. I'm good.
Good.
So delighted to have you. Even though we've talked, I don't know how many times, to me it feels brand new every time. So I love being in your presence and having conversations with you.
Thank you. Likewise.
Even if it's about a subject that we probably don't talk about enough. Because it's one of those things that, as we know, we all are going to have to walk through at some point in our lives. So let's get right into it.
Let's get it.
So the thought for this segment, And the Beat Lives On, it came from me losing my mom in 2006. And after doing the Women Who Win segments, which you were a guest on that those shows with me, was laying in bed one night and just the Lord brought the idea to me, because I remember right after my mom passed, the day she passed, I was driving down Woodruff Road headed to the store, and I felt a pain like somebody literally had just grabbed my heart and ripped it out of my chest. Yeah. And hence, And the Beat Lives On, because you have to find a way to still celebrate the life and the legacy that they live beyond that. So I know you too have lost your mother.
Yes.
So want to start there. I want to talk about your beautiful mom. When did she transition? What was her name? Okay. And let's talk about her first.
Okay, sure. So my sweet mama, her name is Barbara.
Okay.
My mom died June of 2016.
Wow.
And her death was one of the most beautiful things that I have experienced. And beautiful and death is not something that you usually conjoin together. But it was such a beautiful experience.
Okay.
Although deeply painful, it was also a beautiful experience, just because we were determined to celebrate her life until her very last breath.
Wow. Okay.
And we didn't see death as the end, because she had deposited so much into us.
Okay.
Even in her last days. I mean, she was still dictating how she wanted things done. And so she was, even in her transition, she was giving us what we needed to live.
Okay.
So she was a wonderful, phenomenal woman.
Okay.
A wonderful mother. She was a teacher.
Okay.
up until the end.
Wow.
Sense of humor like you wouldn't believe. And above all, she was a servant. She used to participate in our former church, and she was a part of the Angels ministry. And it couldn't have been a better fitting ministry for her to be a part of, because that's who she really was. We just didn't see her wings, but she really was an angel on earth.
So you said that you were able to prepare and celebrate, and it was a beautiful transition. So was there an illness that led up to her transition? You guys had time?
Yes.
And okay.
Yes. I'm so thankful for the gift of time. You know, some people experience sudden passings, and so it comes as a shock.
Right.
There's trauma that comes along with that. But my mom had a stroke in January of 2016. Am I saying that right? No. 2016. She had a stroke in January.
Okay.
And she passed in June. So we had a lot of time.
Wow.
And she was doing great from January until end of April. She was doing great. And then had a subsequent fall and things that put her back in the hospital. And then she decided, I don't want to do this anymore.
Right.
What she realized is that the quality of life that she was used to, her level of service to God and humanity, that she could not do that anymore. And she said, I've had enough.
Wow.
She said that she had enough. And literally the last week of her life, you know, she was on dialysis for a number of months, but she said, I don't want to do this anymore. And so she had called me and said, I want a milkshake. So I take milkshakes up there on my lunch break. And so we're talking. And in the middle of our sips, she says, get your pen and paper out. I want you to write out my funeral arrangements. And I'm like, hold on.
Wow.
And it was so natural for her, because she was a planner. She was an instructor. She was one that thought things out thoroughly. So she talked everything through. And I'm like, I hit record on my phone because I was there physically, but that kind of took me off guard because she was improving, and we were preparing to transition her out of the hospital into rehab. And she said, prepare my funeral arrangements and get your pen and paper out. So I said, yes, ma'am. And I started writing, and I hit record on my phone, and I'm so thankful that I did.
Wow.
Because from that conversation, it's called Milkshakes and Final Conversations in my phone.
Oh, wow.
And it's such a well that I can still draw from even all of these years later. Yeah.
Wow. So I know you have sisters. What impact did the transition of your mom have on your family and your unit as siblings?
Whew. Wow. We are a close family.
Okay.
I have two older sisters, and we are close, but Mom's death hit us all differently. So my oldest sister, Tiffany, she's the oldest in age, but she's the baby when it comes to emotions and being able to handle death. My middle sister, Tamara, she's 14 months older than I am. She doesn't like it. And this is pressure for her, and she likes to back away. And I was administrative during this time. So I'm preparing the funeral arrangements and carrying out the orders. So the weight of the grief didn't hit me until later.
Wow. Because
I wanted to be the one that carried out Mom's wishes to the T, so I didn't have time to fall apart. And honestly, there was not a lot of reasons that I wanted to. You know, I wanted to honor her life and do it well, and I could cry later.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow.
So how it impacted us, you know, it brought us closer together.
Okay.
You know, we had some hard conversations because we all kind of wanted to do our own thing initially in that acute period of grief. So we're like, we're going to stick this out. We're going to be here for each other. And if we're going to struggle, we're going to do it together. If we're going to cry, we're going to cry together. And so we walked through all of the things, you know, sitting on the first row at the mortuary, sitting on the first row in those green seats in front of the graveyard. We did all of those things together, and you know, made it our business to check on each other. And still to this day, you know, we have to do that. Tiffany has assumed the role as mother and even big mama of the family now, but it's brought us together.
So we do have some pictures of moments that you were able to share with your mother. I think the first one is a wedding photo. So when you are able to look back at that beautiful memory, what do you feel? Or because both of you are looking at each other like with celebration, adoration. So talk to us about what Tanika feels when she sees that.
Man, I feel such a sense of pride when I look at this picture. You see Mom's radiant beauty that you can't see the full smile, but I mean, her smile would just light up a room. And so when I see this picture and I look at myself, I'm smiling looking at the beauty that she exudes. Part of, of course, this is my wedding day, and it was the happiest day of my life, but it was the happiest day of her life too, or one of the happiest days of her life. She was like on a 20, like leading up to this wedding. She was happy to be gaining a son, and my husband, and it was so much joy that day. There was so much love, just moments that the two of us shared on our wedding day. And it's just a sense of pride, looking at that picture.
And we do have another beautiful picture of your mom. I know you said that she was quite the servant, and so I don't know what this picture is. I know she was apparently a sharp dresser
This
as
is
well.
This is a Sunday morning fit. She loved her hats. So yeah, this is at her church on a Sunday morning. She was a greeter. So this is in the vestibule of the church where she would greet worshipers each Sunday with that big smile and a warm hug. And that's what she loved. She loved serving God and his people.
Yes, beautiful. So I've known you for years, and knowing your mom passed in 2016, I know that she was able to walk with you through some other difficulties that you experienced, which I think was a blessing, but you've experienced what some would say is the unimaginable for women, child and infant loss. So let's talk about your journey with that, because I think your story is different than many, but it's yours, and it's, I think it's interesting how we don't get to choose the thing that God uses to expose our lives or put our lives on display, but he has a way of taking those painful moments and making them celebratory. So talk to us about your beautiful angels.
Okay, so my husband and I have experienced the death of 4 of our children. We have 6 total, and 4 of those are with Jesus. So we have the Brady Bunch, 3 boys, 3 girls, and we get to parent 2 boys earthside. So in 2007, I had a beautiful pregnancy. I was, pregnant and happy and totally ignorant to the fact that I could lose a child. My grandmother had 12 kids, and I knew from the time that I was 5 that I wanted to be a mom. I knew that. I had a Cabbage Patch doll. I named Jackie. I just had it all planned out. Jackie.
Okay.
I had my cousin Jackie, and she was like my favorite, so I named my Cabbage Patch doll after her. So, and I was 5.
Okay. We'll take it.
I didn't have a lot of other names.
Yeah, I get it.
So it was all about family. But I knew that I wanted to be a mom, and I knew that I wanted to be a mom of many kids because I saw what that looked like for my grandmother, who was the mother of 12. And I was like, I don't need to be quite the woman she was, but if I could get like to 3/4 of that and have 9, I'm good. So
just a little baseball team.
Yeah, that's it. And so when Chris and I were dating, I was like, I'm just letting you know that I want a big family. I want 9 kids. Do you feel like you're up for the job? And so he was like, 9? I was like, yeah. He was like, why 9? And I told him the story about my grandma, and I don't need to be like her, but I want a lot of kids. And he was like, I want a family, then we'll just see how it all pans out. So he co-signed on my dream. And a year after we were married, the next year I was pregnant, and everything was great until it wasn't. I was 16 weeks pregnant. At the end of the day at my job, I stood up to go to the bathroom and my water broke.
At 16 weeks.
At 16 weeks.
Wow.
And I had no experience with pregnancy loss. I didn't know that it was my water breaking. I thought maybe the baby's on my bladder, and
You've had an accident.
I just had an accident, and this is embarrassing.
Hey, just for a moment, I wanted to interrupt you. So no, the video has not messed up. This is an intentional interruption. Just for me first to say thank you, because if you've gotten to this point, that means you're still watching this interview, and hopefully you're hearing some things that are helping you, encouraging you, inspiring you. But I thank you for taking the time to listen, to get to know some of these amazing people, and to be encouraged and inspired by their stories. Second of all, I want to give you an opportunity to partner with me. If there is something that you think you can offer to this platform, either hands-on if you're local to the Greenville area, if you know some guests that you think I should interview, or if you see the transitions that we've gone through from when I started with Women Who Win and now doing this in my own space, and you say, I want to support that vision, I want to give to it, we welcome any type of support that you have to give. We also are going to have opportunities for organizations and businesses. You don't have to be local to Greenville, but we can spotlight you during our show segments. If any of that sounds interesting to you and you want to participate, shoot me an email. I'm going to put the email address on the screen, and I want to give you all of the information on how you can partner and connect so that we can keep bringing these people before you, sharing their amazing stories, offering them a safe space to share their journeys, and to also help encourage you along yours. So thank you again for listening, and now back to this interview.
Thankfully, I have a cousin that's a midwife, and so I called her after I called my husband. I called her and I told her what happened, and she was like, T, you need to get to your doctor. I'm concerned. And she didn't want to give me too much to make me panic, but she told me enough that I needed to be concerned. And so I called the doctor, but it was the end of the day. I was leaving to go home, and so it's 5 o'clock. The doctor's offices are closed. They said, go home, put your feet up and rest, and come to the office first thing in the morning. So I did that, got to the office, and they determined that, yes, my water had broken, baby was still alive, but I would be on bed rest for the duration of the pregnancy.
Wow.
So I was admitted to the hospital, and the doctor that came in was very honest. And he looked us in the eyes and he said, if you guys are the praying type, pray for a miracle. At 16 weeks, your baby is not viable. The lungs are not developed. And I've been practicing for a lot of years, and we don't see good outcomes with this. So if you are of the praying type, call everybody you know. And that's what we did. And so I went home on bed rest, and our daughter Destiny lived for 2 weeks with no amniotic fluid, nothing to help build her lungs up. And then on December 18th, I started bleeding, went to the doctor, and there was no heartbeat. So she died at 18 weeks. And, I was like, what happened? I'm angry about this. I need to know why, because this was not in that list.
Right.
I wrote out things, I wrote out all of my criteria for a husband, what I wanted. I had the names of all 9 of my children, but losing any of them was never a part of my story. And so I talked to the doctor. I grilled him and said, what happened? And he was like, we can't tell. It could have just been a bad pregnancy. It could have been an infection, lots of different things. We don't know, but give your body a break for 3 months, and then you can try again, and we'll monitor you closely. That's what we did. 3 months, and I was pregnant again. Almost to the day.
Right. Y'all got the plan. Let's check this off. We know what to do.
We got things to do. So pregnancy was going great. At 17 weeks, my water broke.
Wow. One more week then.
Yeah, I made it 1 extra week and my water broke. What is interesting is I had just went to the doctor the day before, and my cervix was firm and closed. The next day, it wasn't. So that incompetent cervix can change very rapidly. And that's when when I was diagnosed with having an incompetent cervix. And I knew from that point that if I were to have a successful pregnancy, that there would have to be medical intervention to carry a baby. Fast forward, we waited 3 months. we were pregnant again. And
So that second pregnancy was Brianna.
that second pregnancy was Brianna.
Okay,
Yes.
another little girl.
Yes.
Okay.
So we waited 3 months. We were pregnant again. And this time I was followed by a high-risk maternal fetal medicine doctor. And I had ultrasounds every 2 weeks. They checked my cervix. And I mean, we were locked and loaded. At 12 weeks, I had a vaginal cerclage, which basically is just a purse string stitch around the cervix to reinforce it so that it can't open, which is what I needed. So I had that. My doctor was singing Michael Jackson in the OR, and he was like, I'm putting extra knots in this because we're having this baby. And I was like, do your job. It's great.
Yes, yes.
So we made it to 16 weeks. We made it to 17 weeks, 18 weeks, 19 weeks. And I'm like,
Yes.
we're bringing this baby home. Yes. 19 weeks and 4 days. We were at home. It was a Sunday. We were having a birthday dinner for my husband. And my water was breaking. It couldn't fully break because of the cerclage, but my bag of water was bulging through my cervix.
Wow.
So I went to the doctor. I went to the ER actually on that Sunday. And
So you felt the pressure since it couldn't?
yes,
Okay.
I felt the pressure and I was contracting.
Oh, okay. Okay.
And by that time, I knew what contractions felt like. With the first pregnancy, I didn't even know I was having contractions. I just thought, oh, my back is hurting. I mean, I was just a novice.
Yeah.
I didn't know.
Yeah.
But I had contractions. We went in the hospital. I was on bed rest for about 3 days. And then finally, my body was just like, I can't hold this pregnancy any longer. And so we had to have Madison. So she was born at 19 weeks and 6 days. The difference about this story is Madison was born alive, whereas the other two, Destiny and Brianna, died in utero. So Madison was born alive, weighing 1 pound and 7 ounces. She fit like right here, literally, in the palm of my hand, and nothing could have prepared me for what I would see. You know, when you have a baby at 19 weeks, it's much different than looking at a baby at 40 weeks.
Exactly.
You know, it's translucent skin, there's no hair, eyes are fused together. And I saw beauty in that.
Oh, wow.
I saw beauty in that. The fact that Madison was born alive changed the entire narrative for the rest of my life.
Because I can imagine by now, your mind is vacillating, your heart is vacillating, because you're probably, God, where are you? What are you doing?
Yes.
Where's
and
the script for this?
Correct. Correct.
All
And
the
yeah. We had a lot of questions for God, and our hopes were built up to be let down, to be built up, to be let down again. And my faith was taking a beating over and over again. But I was determined not to end our story with pain and with loss. I was like, you know, I have hopes, dreams, and expectations that I've carried for 25 years. I mean, I've wanted to be a mom since I was 5. And although the pain that I carried was great, it wasn't greater than those hopes, dreams, and expectations of being a mom. So I was determined to go through whatever journey I needed to go through so that my reality would match my hopes, dreams, and expectations.
You better teach, Tanika.
So Madison's life, Madison lived for 9 hours. 9 hours at 19 weeks. Yes. So funny story, when she was born, you know, the doctors and the whole surgical team, they're standing around and they have their hands folded and they're just waiting. They're waiting for her to die. The doctor said, you know, what you're seeing is some shallow breaths. I anticipate, you know, 1 or 2 minutes and she will expire. And they just stood there waiting so they could pronounce her dead. And I was like, well, are y'all going to do anything to help sustain her life? And they said no. And I said, well, get out. Get out, because we are about life right now. Her skin was translucent, so we literally could see her every beat of her heart. And so I was determined that everybody in that room would be a part of Madison's life and not just wait for her to die. So in those 9 hours, it was Chris and I, my mom and my sister, and a wonderful nurse named Susan Brown. We all held her. We sang to her. I told her about her sisters that she would meet. We filled a lifetime in 9 hours.
Oh, wow.
And there were times as we passed her around that her breathing was shallow and we could see that her heartbeat was slowing down. And I thought, okay, she's going to die in my hand any minute. And I held her and I would just kind of gently breathe on her. And I'd say, live, Madison, live. And literally her heart would start to beat again.
So she
the
was
beat would go on.
responding
She was
to your-
responding to
wow.
my word. And that changed my life, because it was days after, when I got home and dealing with the reality of everything, the Holy Spirit reminded me of that moment when I thought, I can't do this.
Right.
I cannot live. I was so embarrassed to be a mom of 3 daughters that I didn't have. I was so ashamed that my body failed me 3 times. I was ashamed that I prayed and believed God again, and I had nothing to show for it. And I was like, I can't do this. I can't do this. I just want to go be with them. The Holy Spirit reminded me, when Madison's heart was about to stop, you breathed on her and told her to live. Now here you are. You are ready for your heart to stop. And I'm breathing my word over you. And I'm commanding you to live.
Yeah.
And if your daughter of 9 hours old could follow your command, surely you can follow mine. And you can live.
Yeah.
And I was like, man. So
put it like that.
Madison's legacy,
Oh.
9 hours of life. Don't ever think that life is not significant because of the time.
That's beautiful. Yeah.
Her 9-hour life sustained mine. And because of that, I have sons that can carry on the message of hope, of advocacy. I have sons. That's the main thing.
Yes.
Because Madison lived. You decided to live. I decided to live.
And to keep trying.
And to keep trying. And because of Madison's life, there are generations to come with the Dillard name.
Yes.
Yeah.
Wow. Wow. So how much time was there between Madison and Israel Grayson?
So Madison was born in 2009. I went to Chicago and had a medical intervention to reinforce my cervix, and that was surgical. So I have what's called a TAC, a trans-abdominal cerclage.
Okay.
That was placed in 2009, 6 weeks after Madison was born.
Okay.
I had a full-term birth. Our son Ethan, who's now 13, perfect pregnancy, no problem at all. So he was born in 2010.
Okay. Okay. So Ethan is after Madison. Okay.
Yes, Ethan
Okay.
is after Madison, and that is where Mom went with me to Chicago for this surgery.
Okay.
She was there every step of the way. She was like, look, Chris took time off with you for bereavement leave. I'm going with you to Chicago. She wanted to go because this is when Oprah was still there. She thought she'd be Oprah.
She was going to run into Oprah.
Yeah, totally different story. But she was with
But I'm
me.
going with you, though.
But I'm going.
But if we see Oprah.
So she was there with me for the surgery and the recovery and every step of the way. You know, once I got home, we waited 3 months as we were told. We were pregnant again with Ethan. All the same steps with, you know, being monitored every week, actually, between my high-risk OB and my regular OB. And Ethan's pregnancy was perfect, perfect. C-section brought him home 7 pounds, 2 ounces. And I was like, oh my God, yes, this is great.
Yes.
The doctor that
The
did my
story
surgery.
has changed.
The story changed. The doctor that did my surgery, Dr. 𝙗𝙗𝙮 at the University of Chicago, said, you can have all the kids you want. And I was like, okay, let's not waste any time because we got stuff to do. So we had Ethan. I sent him pictures and let him know that, you know, your surgery at work has changed our life. And he was like, well, go make more babies. And we did. I didn't know it. I was 5 months pregnant with Grayson before I knew I was pregnant.
Really?
5 months. And you would think after having recurrent pregnancies in 07, 08, 09, 2010, I would know the symptoms and signs of pregnancy, but I didn't. I was 5 months pregnant And the only reason I knew I was pregnant is because I went to a graduation and I saw the pictures on Facebook. And when I looked at the picture, I was like, look at my face. My nose was swollen. I mean, this is the same face I look at every day in the mirror, but seeing it on the picture was different. And we had just come from the graduation celebration. Ethan was still in his car seat at 8 months old. I didn't even take him out of the car seat once we got home and I was looking at the pictures. I put him right back in the car. We went to CVS. I bought 3 pregnancy tests, came home. My husband was at work. They were all positive. And I was like, oh.
We've been busy.
How far along am I? So I went to the doctor that Monday and they were like, girl, you're 5 months. You're 5 months. Oh. So we had an ultrasound. We knew immediately that we had another son. And we were like, okay, well, we've been doing fine this far.
Yeah.
We don't need to do our weekly ultrasounds. We're good. So we had a planned C-section, which we were fine with. And the day before my planned C-section, I had an appointment. It was our final appointment before the C-section, just to, one last ultrasound check. What was different that morning is Grayson didn't move. So every morning when my husband would get up, he would go to work. Before he left to go to work, he would pray over us. And that's what would wake Grayson up, is the sound of his voice. And so we would both feel the kicks as Chris prayed. Well, that morning, Chris prayed and Grayson didn't move. I didn't think anything of it because I'm like, he's out of space. He can't, it's fine. So I went to my doctor at 9:40. The tech was, feeling for a heartbeat. She was like, I'm not feeling it. He's just probably hiding, moving around. I'm gonna send you over to your high-risk maternal fetal medicine doctor and let him do an ultrasound. And I was like, okay. This was the same day. It was the anniversary of the day that my water broke with Destiny with my first pregnancy. So emotions were already a little high.
Yeah, so I know your mind is.
Yeah. So I'm trying not to think about it. So I'm sitting in the same waiting room that I had sat in many, many times before. And I'm sitting there alone because I didn't need to get Chris off work, because he's going to be off for a couple of weeks with me. So I'm sitting there. I go in to have the ultrasound done, and the tech turns the screen. So I'm a veteran at this now. I know what that means. And she didn't say anything. She just got up and she walked out, and she came back with my doctor, who had become like our family because he had been with us through multiple pregnancies. And so he came in and he just held me and he was crying. And he said, I'm sorry.
So that was the first thing he said to you wow.
I'm sorry. And I don't think I breathed. And he said, I'm going to go call Chris. Who else do I need to call? And I just looked at him like, how? What happened? So he called Chris, got him off work, and I just sat in a room alone until Chris got there and the chaplain from the hospital, who was also like our family. And we were all just in shock because we were so close. We were 24 hours away from bringing him home. So I said, I can't go to the hospital right now. I just need to go home and I need to process this because this is shock for me. And it was shock for Chris, and we didn't believe it. I had a Doppler at home, and Chris was like, babe, please just listen on our Doppler to see if you can hear his heartbeat. So I did. We couldn't hear his heartbeat. So we listened multiple times that night to see if we could hear anything, and we couldn't. We went to the hospital the next day and had a C-section, and that's when we knew what the cause was. So the cord was wrapped around his neck multiple times and around his lower leg. And apparently he had been like that for a couple of days based on the condition of his body. But we didn't know. He was still moving up until that morning, and he was moving the night before. So he died over in the night before Chris went to work that morning. That's why he didn't respond to his voice. So it was a shock for everyone. I mean, absolutely everyone. And I was like, I can't do this again. I can't. And I mean, Chris, this was the hardest loss for my husband. The hardest loss for my husband. You know, I don't know what it feels like I know what it feels like to be a mom and long for daughters, because I had hopes, dreams, and expectations for them. I bought my wedding dress with my daughters in mind.
Wow.
So my husband had hopes, dreams, and expectations for sons, not just one, but many. And it was a devastating loss for him. And as dads, they are often overlooked in the grieving process, and they are commissioned to take care of their wife, not wives. They're commissioned to be a good husband and to be strong, and my husband was told to take care of Tanika. Very few people realized
that he was grieving also.
That he grieved his son.
Yeah.
It wasn't just Tanika that lost a baby.
Yeah.
Chris lost a son.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we have a picture of the two of you with 𝙘𝙧𝙾𝙘, and I can't even imagine. So what do you want to say about that moment?
This picture is profound to me, and I'm so thankful that the photographer captured it, because there's another picture also, and I wish I had shared that one. It was one where Chris is looking at the camera, and there is such a hollowness and an emptiness in his face. And it really is the face of fathers who grieve. You know, this picture is you can look at this and you can see pain. You can see Grayson with his purple lips. You know, there's a lot that you can draw from this picture. But the main thing for me is, this is for all the dads. This is where we pause and realize that pregnancy loss is about a family unit, not just about the mom.
Beautiful. So you said earlier that you would not let pain be the end of your story. So there was yet another.
There was another
after after 𝙘𝙧𝙾𝙘.
Yes.
So tell us about your next beautiful bundle of joy.
Yeah. So different than all of our last instructions of waiting 3 months to get pregnant, we waited a year. And we didn't set a time. We wanted to wait until our hearts could handle the possibilities of whatever was to come. Grayson's death took a lot out of both of us. You know, it took a lot out of both of us. It was a grief experience that was different for both of us. Neither of us had sat on the front row at Rest Haven, at the graveyard. You know, we had always been standing and supporting other people. But it was the first time that we occupied the first 2 seats of that first row. And if you've never sat there, it's a totally different experience. And so we needed time to really process what we were going through. We had counseling sessions.
Because with 𝙘𝙧𝙾𝙘, different than the other children, you guys had to plan a service and do.
Yes. Plan a service, write an obituary for a baby that we didn't get to bring home. We had a nursery set up. Ethan was 18 months old and knew about a brother. One thing that I didn't mention, had I listened to Ethan, I probably would have known I was pregnant, because Ethan, before that graduation day, Ethan was touching my stomach and saying baby. And I was like, this is where you were.
Yeah.
There's nobody there.
Give us time.
Yeah, give us time.
But he was trying to help you.
He was trying to help me. It was amazing.
Yeah.
But we just needed time. We needed time. And so we took a trip to Cancun in July of 2012. And on our way back, it was the day we came back from Cancun. We stopped at the gas station. Chris is pumping gas, and the lady gets out, and she has a newborn baby. I'm sitting in the car with Ethan. Chris is pumping gas, and I hear the pump stop. So I was like, what's going on? His eyes followed the lady all the way into the gas station.
Chris's eyes.
Chris's eyes.
Wow.
He was just in amazement that there was a lady carrying a newborn. And I watched him watch her. So he got in the car and he said, babe, did you see that lady and that little baby? And I was like, yeah, I saw it. He was like, wow. And I was like, what were you thinking? What were you feeling when you saw that? And he was like, I don't know. I just felt so much, but I can't say what it was. And I was like, okay. And it wasn't even a conversation like, now we're ready to try again. We both just knew.
Yeah, based off of the response.
Based on the response,
Yes.
that it was time.
Okay.
That was in July. I got pregnant in August.
Y'all waste no time.
Yeah.
All systems are a go. We know what to do.
And we're getting old. Let's get this done. So I didn't share the news of my pregnancy with anyone outside of my mom, my mother-in-law, like my sisters, and our immediate family. My best girlfriends did not know.
Wow.
I found a reason to not be available. Like when we would get together, I was like, Ethan, it was good. I could use Ethan a lot, or I could say, I'm just not up to it. Like I'm grieving. I can't.
Yeah. Just
so, and then, there's a lot of things changed. So I didn't have to be visible.
Wow.
And on my job, I would wear oversized clothes. I would wear a scarf, like a long scarf. So
you're hopeful but reserved.
I'm hopeful but reserved, very hopeful. But I was determined that I wasn't going to let the talk and the fear of other people be seasoning the journey that I was on.
That's good.
What I didn't want to hear is, I hope things work out this time. I didn't want to hear any of that. I wanted to hear, we're bringing this baby home. That's all I wanted.
Right.
I wanted faith, positivity, and if you had anything else to say, you couldn't.
Yeah.
And not that the people in my circle, not that they couldn't have done that. I did not want to take them on a journey that could include pain.
Understood.
So,
you didn't even want to put them in the position to have to think about what should I say.
Absolutely.
Oh yeah.
Absolutely. So I said nothing.
Yeah.
Literally.
Yeah.
And the day, one of my girlfriends found out because every year there's a department store in the mall that has a big sale on New Year's Day. And we always meet there. Well, this year, Mom and I were there. And I was like, we're just going to get in and out. And hopefully we won't run into each other. My best girlfriend, Tanya. And we ran into Tanya. And so she was like, hey. And her eyes immediately dropped. She was like, is there something you need to tell me? And I was like, no. No. She was like, Tanika, why didn't you tell me? And I was like, I didn't want you to carry this. And so she was upset that I didn't tell her, but of course, very happy.
Right.
So I had to kind of spill it a little bit. But my friend Tanika in Columbia, she knew the moment that Evan was born. I sent her a picture and she was like, what in the world? Whose baby is this? So I had to keep it. I had to keep it a secret for my sanity, for our well-being, because I was no nonsense about anybody saying anything that could get in my way.
Yeah. So now you are on a journey to help strengthen and encourage others that have walked through a similar journey than yours. And what I think is interesting most about our community, we don't always know how to get through the grief and then know how to celebrate the life that was lived or the life that was experienced.
Yeah.
So how did you get to the point of being celebratory of your children that are with God, and then you have some keepsakes that you keep near and dear? So can you talk about how you got to the point of celebration and some of the things that you keep as a reminder?
Yes. So how I got to the point of celebration, I was determined to tell the story, to keep their name alive. Although they were not physically with me, all four of our heaven babies impacted my life in some type of way. And although it was full of pain some days, it was not all pain. They were created in love. And so there's love that's a part of that story. There are so many episodes of love that is weaved into the pain that I couldn't be silent about them. I had to share their stories, even if it included pain, even if it included tears. And in doing so, I found a reason to celebrate. You know, I feel like I'm a hopeful, positive person, and I just couldn't. I couldn't walk with my head down and just sadness. There was no point in that. But what really helped me to transition to celebration and hope was seeing other people that were in my same shoes, people that were experiencing pregnancy loss for the first time. And they would say, how are you able? How are you living? How are you surviving? How are you in your right mind? And I'm able to tell the story. And telling the story, I'm giving them hope. I'm building legacy because I'm saying my children's name over and over again. I'm celebrating the fact that they lived, not just the fact that they died. They lived.
Right.
They lived to impact me, and their life inspired work. Their life inspired me to act in some way. And so I have to celebrate all of the things that their life has produced. Their life didn't just produce pain. Their life produced a book. Their life produced a sacred lullaby. Their life produced a support group. Their life produced a TED Talk that has been shared around the world that has been giving other people hope. So there's so much to celebrate and not just pain.
Yes, yes. I love it. I love it. And I meant to bring my copy of the book. And as soon as you mentioned it, I was like, I forgot. But yeah, amazing, amazing book that you wrote, Building a Family Breaks My Heart. And is it still available on Amazon for people? Okay. Yes. So please, please, please search Building a Family Breaks My Heart by Tanika Dillard. I mean, I literally read that book in a day. I was traveling at the time. So I started it on my flight and finished it. By the next day, I had finished that book. Yeah, it's just amazing. So tell me about some of the things you brought and what they represent to you and what they mean.
Okay, sure. So at the hospital, in the local hospitals here in the upstate, anyone that experiences a pregnancy loss, they will now leave with a memory box and a bear.
Okay.
One of the things that's important to the bereavement team is that no family leaves with empty arms. So you go to the hospital expecting to leave with a baby, but you leave with a box instead.
Okay.
So our first loss in 2007 with Destiny, this Tiny Touches had not been formed yet, that group that provides all of these keepsakes. So I left with a box. It was not as nice as this. It was just a cardboard box, and I had lab work in it. I have no pictures of Destiny. I have no copies of her footprints, handprints, any of that. But I had something. Something.
Right.
But they have really launched the program, and it is just grown by leaps and bounds over the last decade. So in this memory box, there's a photo album with pictures, and I have a collection of memory boxes for all of my children, but I just brought one today. But in this memory box, there's the photo album. Everything that touched my child is in this box. So the measuring tape where they measured the circumference of her head is in here. The Kleenex, not the Kleenex, the handkerchief that they gave me to wipe my tears. And you can see it. I mean, I had on makeup that day for some reason, but the makeup that was on my face in that handkerchief, that is here. There's copies of her footprints that are in this box. So this is literally a memory box. Everything that touched her was in this box. And then there's the bears that families leave with. It has the little angel wings on the back. I brought 2 of those. I have a collection of things that we've collected over the years. This is Madison's cremains. So it has her name engraved on it. The Tiny Touches program gifted us with the little urn, and then inside is her cremains. And most people have not seen cremains, and I'm like, I don't know, I don't want to touch it, but I mean, this is the body that I held. This is Madison, and I mean, it's ashes.
Right.
But you know, these are her cremains.
Right.
And one of my dear friends had some clay molds made after Brianna was born, because she wanted me to have something to hold.
Oh,
Although
that's
we had the
beautiful.
bears, these are very small clay molds of the girls, and their names are
On the hat.
on the hats.
Oh, that is so sweet.
At Christmas, we put them inside of a clear ornament and hang it on the tree.
Beautiful.
So lots of things, lots of keepsakes that we have
Yes.
collected over the years, jewelry, candles, books. There's so many things, but
Yes.
these are just some of the things that are very special to us, and we can share the stories of their lives with Ethan and Evan, our children that are at
Yes.
home.
Yes, and we have a picture because you do now a walk to remember. There's a picture with a group of people. There's another one because I know, yes, because your two, Ethan and Evan, are in this photo.
Yes.
So tell us about your efforts now with Share and a walk to remember and how you're helping other mothers.
Absolutely. So Share Upstate was founded in 2008. So between our losses, I talked to the chaplain at the local hospital and said, how can mothers like me find other mothers and be connected and support each other? And the hospital had a small support group, but it needed to be revitalized. And so the two hospitals joined together and said, listen, this is not a place where the hospitals are going to compete. Let's, join our forces together and form a support group in the upstate that anybody can come to and get the support that they need.
Yes.
So we were able to found the first Share in South Carolina. So Share is a part of a national organization. It's a national pregnancy and infant loss support organization and support groups all around the world. But we chartered the first one here in South Carolina.
Good. Congratulations.
Yeah, so it was a joint effort between our two local hospitals and then advisors from both of those hospitals. And this group is run by a group of parent facilitators. There are two facilitators from each hospital, and we meet monthly, and we provide mothers and fathers and families the support that they need to journey forward, not just to be stuck in their grief. We companion them in their grief, but we also want to provide tools to help them to journey forward, to honor the lives of their children. And one of the ways that we do that is with the Walk to Remember. It's an annual event that we do at Flora Field. This year, 2024, it will be the first Sunday in October. At Flora Field, but it is not just a somber event. It is a memorial service and community celebration. And so families are invited to come and to bring all of their support staff. So you'll see mothers and grandpas and grandmas, and people will have on shirts with the names of the children that they're honoring. We actually do a walk around Flora Field, and we have banners, and other people bring personalized banners. We have a speaker that will share their story of loss, but also their story of hope. Because we're all there because there's pain, there's death and grief that unites us. But some people come and they don't have the hope that they need to journey forward.
Right.
So that is why we have a speaker there that's going to share the story, but also to impart hope.
Yes.
And then we are all there to show that the beat really does go on.
Yes.
It really does go on. And we show people that you can live and you can have these rainbow babies. Those are babies born after a loss.
Right.
You can have these rainbow babies and find joy in life, even after you've experienced pain.
Yes. We could talk forever, but we're gonna round this up. So, two questions before I would like for you to leave some words of encouragement, especially for other mothers dealing with infant loss. But when you think about the transition of your mother or even of your children, in the years since they have passed, has there been a moment that has stood out to you that you were like, I really wish mom was here for this, or I really wish my daughters or my son could have been here for this? Has there been a moment that stood out among others that really made you feel like, wow, this was great, but I really wish they could have experienced this with us?
I think I experienced that feeling more for my sons. I don't feel it so much for me.
Okay.
Where I wish Mama was here. I mean, there are moments. My nephew just went to basic training. He's joining the Air Force, and you know, Mama was a part of every event in our lives, big or small.
Right.
And she would have been over the moon excited
Yes.
for him.
Yes.
And she couldn't be there. But I found a way to have her present.
Yeah.
So on those milkshakes and final conversations, and all those conversations that I recorded over the last 3 days of her life, I put a message together for my nephew based on those conversations.
Oh, wow.
So she didn't miss it.
Wow.
So he didn't miss her voice in that moment. So physically, we miss her presence, but she put so much into us. I still hear her. I still hear her. But what I miss the most, and I wish my mom was here for, is for my sons. Because they had limited years with her. Ethan was 5 when she died, but he remembers. He remembers her. He remembers her voice. He still listens to, you know, all of my recordings. But there are things that they do, and they see grandparents at basketball games and at awards days.
Right.
And grandma's not there.
Right.
And I feel that deeply for them, more so than I feel it for
Yeah,
myself.
because you know she would have been there.
She would have. She would have been there.
Yeah. So this last question is my staple question for all of my guests, because I love music. If you had to name a song that defines this season of your life, what song defines this season of your life?
Oh my gosh. You should have prepared me for this one, because
we tell nobody this one in advance. So we've gotten some interesting answers. So I like to see what comes up off the top. It could be something that you have on repeat right now, is, you know, what pulls at you whenever you hear it.
Yeah. So that is interesting, because at the beginning of the year, there was a word that stuck with me.
Okay.
And it was anchor.
Okay.
Anchor. It was just weird. It was like one day I just saw an anchor, and I was like, okay. But I started singing the hymn. In times like these,
Yes.
we need a savior.
Okay.
In times like these, we need an anchor.
Yes.
And I'm living that right now. We've gone through lots of stuff. We've gone through lots of storms, but my husband and I are living in a season that we've never experienced before. And so we're having to make sure that our anchor holds and grips the solid rock. And that is Jesus. And it's the anchor that has carried us through every high and every low. And that anchor is stabilizing us. At the beginning of the year, when I saw that, I told my husband, I was like, the Lord is really putting this anchor on my heart. And I said, you know, it's nice when you see it on a shirt or nice little designs. I said, but an anchor is only necessary in a storm. And I don't know what we're facing this coming year, but the Lord has assured me and reminded me to make sure our anchor holds. So that's the song.
Yes, I love it. I love it. And that is a first. You'll see, as some of the interviews come out. We've had one song that's been the repeat, and I thought you were going to go there at first, but I love it. I love it. You went old school. You took us back to the
I'm
hills.
old soul now. Listen, I'm old.
I love it. So you've mentioned a lot of things as far as share. So how would people get involved with that? Because we do want to put the information up on the screen.
Absolutely.
We'll put that up. So tell us that first.
Yes. So you can go online to shareupstate.com. That is our website, and you can find all the information. Our meetings are the third Tuesday of each month at St. Michael Lutheran Church. That information is also found on the website.
Okay.
There's ways that you can support Share. We have an Amazon gift registry. We have books that are being donated in honor of children that have passed away. So there's lots of ways that people can support Share Upstate. And again, that's shareupstate.com.
Okay. And then you yourself, you are a certified grief recovery method specialist and a stillbirth doula.
Yes.
So how can people connect with you if they want to personally maybe talk to you about their journey?
Absolutely.
Or get involved in some of the other things that you are doing as far as keynotes or contact you?
Absolutely. I can be reached at tanika@tanikadillard.com. That's my email address. Again, tanika@tanikadillard.com.
Okay.
And I'm on social media as well, on Facebook as Tanika Dillard, the same as with Instagram.
Okay. Perfect. Perfect. So the final words that we would like to share, we would like for you to share, whatever is on your heart for any mothers that may be early in the journey that you've experienced and don't know what to do next. They can't even get out of bed. They don't know who to call, whatever they may be feeling right now. If you don't mind looking at that camera and leaving some words with them.
So thank you. I'm happy to do that for the mom, for the dad that has experienced recurrent pregnancy loss, or if this is your first loss. One, I'm deeply sorry that you have to know this pain. I'm sorry that you are a part of the journey of the club that nobody signs up for. I'm sorry that your hopes, dreams, and expectations have been seemingly shattered. But I will tell you that there is a community that is willing and available to companion you through this chapter of grief. And I say chapter because this is not the final story. Grief is a journey, and it's not just a journey of loss. It's a journey of love. It's a journey of hope. And I'm committed to not letting you get stuck on this one chapter. If you can find the strength to reach out by email, by phone, whatever it is, I'll personally companion you through this journey and connect you with other people that can help walk you through it. But grief is about love, and I don't want you to think that grief is just about death. So if you can mourn the loss, but still have hope. Keep in mind the hopes, dreams, and expectations that you have, and together we can journey forward and start a new chapter.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I feel like it's
Absolutely.
so much more that we could talk about, but to respect your time and to, I think you've left a wealth of knowledge with those that will listen to this. And I just appreciate your transparency. I appreciate your openness. And, you know, as we said in the beginning, grief is a journey that we all will experience at some point. We just don't know whether it's through a parent or the loss of a child. But thank you for finding your way to the place where now you can be a champion and a voice for others.
Absolutely.
So I appreciate you stepping away from husband and boys for a moment to spend some time with me and have this conversation. And if you are listening, connect with Tanika. She is a wealth of knowledge for many, many things. So reach out, Tanika@tanikadillard.com. We will put that on the screen for you to reach out to her. Whether you are experiencing this journey or know someone that's experiencing this journey, or if you just are navigating grief in general, it does not even have to be through the loss of a child. She has been an excellent resource for so many people that are navigating grief. So Tanika, thank you again.
Thank you.
And my final words to you that are watching, please subscribe to the YouTube channel. If you've gotten this far in this video, you have not subscribed. What's going on?
Shame on you.
Yeah, like just click on subscribe so you don't miss any of these conversations. We do also share them on Facebook, so you can connect with us on Facebook on the Simply Tammy page. We're on Instagram under the Simply Tammy Show, so connect with us. We appreciate your support, not only through watching, but whatever way you show up with sharing these, helping us share these stories. So stay connected. We appreciate you, and until next time.